Okay. Um, well, thank you, Chris Curry, for agreeing to do this. You're going to be my initial person in my Defining Joy series. And so I really appreciate that. I want to take a few seconds and say a little bit about what this is. It's essentially going to be a continuation of a conversation you and I had earlier this week about what we think it means for a person to be willing to take advantage of what life has to offer. What makes someone, that one particular person, stand out from the rest, whether it's because they're willing to take chances, go after what it is they want, however it's defined. That's what you and I were discussing before. And I just wanted to clarify the reason why you and I were having this conversation. You're one of my oldest friends, and we have experienced life together. We've been friends for over 30 years, and we've seen each other's ups and downs. And I am in the process of changing my life's course by going to grad school. And I thought I'd reach out to you because this is a question that's been on my mind. And I know that you recently made a life and career change. What's it been, Chris? About 3 years you've been doing construction?
Yeah, I guess I started it in 2018.
Okay, so yeah, so more than 3 years. So you made a big change from being a big time ad exec in New York City, and that's a huge risk that you were willing to take for yourself. And what I did is I called you earlier this week, and I had been, watching some videos on motivation and people that both you and I kind of um, respect, that rose to the top of their game. And I was asking you, what is it that you think makes certain people just go after what they want with no qualms, especially given that oftentimes they come from a segment of society that puts them down, doesn't encourage them, doesn't support them, doesn't care about them. But these people make it. And not only do they just make it, but they make it in such a large way. Now, we're not talking about their intelligence or anything of that, because we know intelligent people come from all over. We're talking about what's that quality that, makes somebody say, I'm going to do it and nobody's going to
Right.
stop me.
Uh-huh.
So that's where we were. I'm going to stop talking and then we'll just go to the conversational part, but I'm going to throw it to you because I know I did a lot of that talking when we talked, and I said I wanted to stop, because I wanted you to think about it, and then I wanted to pick it up when we could actually record the conversation. So
Right.
what do you think it is?
Um, it's interesting because it I've often had just with myself internally because we have a, a vast group of diverse friends, from all walks of life, and there's a common thread that I think that we all carry, and I think one of them is being somewhat of a headstrong individual, where we use kind of people's words as fuel to help us kind of prove them wrong or be like, well, that's what you think. Let me show you what I'm going to do. You may not do it, but I'm going to do
Mm-hmm.
it. And I also think it's a combination of just your family. You know, um, I know your family was very successful in a lot of things, and no matter what, how difficult the times were, um, you never seemed to feel like you couldn't do something or there were no expectations. And I think for me, whether you just graduated from or high school, it was really not a big celebratory moment. It was like, well, that was what you were expected to do.
Right.
Um, There was no
Yeah.
big party. There was
Right.
no, I think we went to dinner, but that was it.
Right. Right.
Um, Even going to college, it wasn't
Yeah.
like a big deal. It was,
We didn't
yeah, that's
realize it
what you're
was an
supposed to do.
option.
Right. There was no option. It was okay. That's what you're gonna do.
Right.
Um, and I can recall a story. Like it was yesterday. I was 3 years old, and I got a bike for my birthday. It was a little red bicycle, and they were putting the training wheels on it, and I had a fit because I didn't want the training wheels on it. Now I didn't had no clue how to ride a bicycle, but I knew I did not want the training wheels on it because my friends didn't have those on their bike, and I didn't want them.
Hmm.
And they were just like, "Well, don't come in here crying because you don't know how to ride a bike." And I swear to you, 20 minutes later, I was riding a bike.
Hmm.
To everyone's amazement, like, how did this 3-year-old just do it? And I think that internal drive, or you're not going to tell me what I can't do, I think it was always in me. And I think it was fostered, whether it was from, just parents and relatives and people that you're around that have these kind of like-minded views on things. You see that they do a lot of phenomenal things, and you're like, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Hmm.
And there are times when I'm like, well, I'll do this later, and I'm like, well, such and such has probably been up already, and they've probably done 5 things, and here I am talking about I'll do it later, and then I just reminds me, like, no, get up and do it and knock it off. Like, just get it off your checklist and keep moving.
Hmm.
So I think, for me, like I said, I think it was something that internally I was born with it, and I think it was just cultivated through relationships, friendships, and in my own family, people that just had expectations for you. And I think looking back, some of my friends came from very humble beginnings, and I don't think they had that support system that cared whether or not they were going to do more. It was just, well, okay, what you going to do? And you figure it out. Whereas if someone saw something in us, it's like, well, how do we nurture that to make it more of something you want to do, or put you in position to even be having exposure to other things, and never being afraid to leave the neighborhood or go away to school or things like that. And I think from very young, we had to take the bus by ourselves to school, like the metro, at a
Right.
young age.
And it wasn't a short bus ride. It was a couple of buses.
No,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You're talking transferring and an hour and a half possibly.
Yeah.
each
You
way.
learned independence. Yes.
Right. So you learn to be resourceful. You learn how to deal with difficult situations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that all plays a role in it. I remember winning a scholarship to go to school in Atlanta, and I'd never been to Atlanta at the time. And I was like, well, this is what I want to do. I just got to go.
Now this was after college, right?
Right. After
Yeah.
I graduated from Howard. And
Hmm.
my professor said, hey, I want you to try this scholarship for this school. And if you win, it's basically a full ride.
Hmm.
And this was on a Tuesday. I had a day to come up with the stuff, and then she sent it out Thursday morning, and I didn't really think much of it. I just did it. I knew I wanted to be in advertising. It was one of the top ad schools, and for the creative side of it. And shortly after a month of passing, she calls me up and she's like, they sent the letter. I haven't opened it, so tomorrow in class, we'll open it together. And I opened it up, and it was a congratulatory letter, and I was just in amaze,
Hmm.
just total amazement that I wasn't expecting to win, but I won, and the rest is history. But I was not afraid to go down there, not knowing anyone, just go.
But you know
And
what's, I'm sorry, you know
mhm,
I'd like to talk about that for a bit because I think that is an example of exactly what I asked, right? So,
right,
um, you know, you take the necessary steps, right? You say, okay, I have a talent for this. This is my area of interest. And then the next step was, you know, you went to school. Now,
right,
for us, based on our background, which is kind of like what you were saying, it wasn't really anything that was a high risk thing, right? It was what
yeah,
we were raised to think. So you haven't really, not in any way am I diminishing going to school,
hmm.
but what I'm saying is for us it was expected. It's something that was normal to you. It was a process. But now here
It
you
was like
are.
waking up and doing what you had to do each day. It was just
Exactly, exactly.
like, yeah,
But you know, when you said, you know, your professor came to you and said, here's a very prestigious university or prestigious program. I think you should qualify for it, but you need to have your thing in tomorrow. A lot of people would have said, oh, no, I can't, you know, I'll wait until next year. I can't do that. You know, like it would have been overwhelming or intimidating. It would have set them back. They wouldn't have been on their game. A lot of people just wouldn't have done it. That
yeah,
right there is a prime example of what I'm talking about. Is like, you know, it's fine for you to do the things that are normal, you know, what's expected of you. But when you get that chance to try something that could really take you in a different direction, blow you up, just, you know, to take that next leap, not a normal
uh
step, but a leap of faith on yourself. Um, and you took it. And I think that that's what I'm saying is a lot of people wouldn't have taken that. And there's certain people who just like the way you described that, it was very normal for you. And I'm wondering, that is exactly what I'm thinking of is like for people who excel, does that just appear to be normal? Because really there are people who would have said, I can't do this. We'll have to wait until next year. I need to plan. I need to prepare. I wasn't expecting to do this. It's only a day. What, you know, blah blah blah. And you know, they wouldn't have gambled on themselves. They
right,
wouldn't have taken the
right,
shot.
right. Um, I think I said it earlier that you have these kind of, if you want to call them angels or people in your life that can see something in you, you know, because these people are around you and they can say, well, you know, I see the potential in such and such, and I'm going to try my best to put them in position to help them achieve what they want to do. Now, it's like the old saying, you can bring the horse to the water, but can you make, you know, you can't make the horse drink it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was prepared to get the biggest cup or the biggest glass and drink as much as I could. It was just give me the opportunity and let me do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like I just feel like it's in you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you want something bad enough, or if you want to achieve a certain thing or whatever that goal may be, time isn't really a factor. It's already kind of destined. Well, this is what I'm going to do.
Mm.
I'm going to get there one way or another, but I'm going to be there.
Right. Right. That's a prime example of what I was looking for. You know, that's one of the common refrains that I hear from people who have done it is I'm going to get it. I don't care. You know,
Right.
I'm going after this. I'm going to get it. I don't care what it takes. You know, et cetera, et cetera. Versus like there was a time in my life where there were things I wanted, but I was so overwhelmed that I didn't go after it, you know,
Hmm.
and that's what has caused me to kind of study it. Now I've since realized that there was a reason why I didn't go after it, because I had more to experience, and but I just wonder, and you've really answered it. Is, you know, when you got your chance, you took it, and it's in people. It is in
Yeah.
them because I feel there are a lot of people who get a chance and they don't take it. And
Right.
and like I said, my goal